はい。皆さん、こんにちは。一般社団法人日本プレセラピー協会 JPT の共同創立者代表、臨床心理学博士の大野木明子です。2025年から2026年にかけて、海外講師によるオンラインセミナーシリーズ、遊びを取り入れたプレセラピーの親面接、サンドトレイを使ってを3回にわたり開催します。第1回は7月12日、13日の午前中です。今回のシリーズ講師は私が20年以上親しくしているリンダ・ホーマイヤー博士です。ある国際会議では数年間、朝、昼、晩、すべての食事を4人席で毎回一緒に囲むという濃い素敵で楽しい時間をたくさん過ごしてきました。深い知識と真剣な姿勢に惹かれる一方で、不意にお茶をプッと吹き出すほど笑わせてくれるチャーミングな方です。現在は JPT の顧問としても関わってくださっていて、今回はそのホーマイヤー先生に直接質問して、彼女の魅力や研修のポイントを皆さんにお伝えしたいと思います。では、早速始めましょう。Alright, Dr. Homeyer, thanks so much for joining me today. I've got some fun questions for you, so let's jump right in.
Okay.
What are the rewards and challenges of working with parents in play therapy?
Well, there's many, of course, but I have found that the biggest reward is really engaging the parents so that they really become part of my treatment team. So I see them as being really on board and connected with working with their children. Of course, the challenges are often parents feel very awkward about bringing their child to therapy, and sometimes they think that we're going to blame them for whatever is wrong with their child. So overcoming that kind of resistance is always a big challenge. And that's why I love Sandtray, because it helps with that.
And it does sound like it's more rewarding
Yes.
working with parents, yes. Okay, next question. What do you find compelling about using Sandtray?
Well, I think first of all is I just love how Sandtray helps facilitate people sharing more information about themselves and getting more insight into who they are. And so when we're working with parents, they can give us so much additional information about their family and their child that they're bringing for therapy by demonstrating that in the Sandtray. Also, it gives them an opportunity to learn about the power of play and how they can connect with maybe what we're doing in the playroom with what they're seeing in the Sandtray. So the whole idea of symbols and metaphors gives them an opportunity to kind of go, aha, I figured out what you're doing in there. So it helps with that as well.
Wow, that sounds fascinating. Okay, third question. What can participants expect to gain over the course of the 3-session workshop?
Well, I hope, first of all, that they come to a new understanding and perhaps insight into the real excitement of working with parents and how they really can be so additive to our work when we're working with their children, and develop that real therapeutic alliance or relationship with the parents, just like we do with their children. And so I think that that is hopefully an overall goal of mine. And second would be that the idea of using Sandtray with parents to help them understand the play therapy process and to give them that kind of insight and connection. And then when I often do parent and child sessions together, of course, obviously helping the people that attend get some skills and some structure on how to hold those kinds of parent-child sessions.
It does sound super interesting. Okay.
I hope, yes.
Yeah, sorry, yes? Go ahead.
I do think it's very interesting. I think the parents become real engaged in the therapeutic process in a deeper way. And that, of course, only really works for a better outcome for the whole entire family.
Yes, definitely. And we want that.
Right.
Okay, moving on. What inspired you to begin incorporating play like Sandtray into parent sessions?
Well, as I mentioned a moment ago, I just love Sandtray, and I've used it with all kinds of clients. So knowing how it can really help clients develop insight into themselves. And I think one thing I notice with parents is they often don't understand the impact of their own life experiences and perhaps trauma into how that is affecting and impacting their parenting skills. And so while I'm very careful to keep the line between I'm not the parent's counselor,
Right.
but helping them develop some insight and awareness into some of their own personal dynamics. And Sandtray is so effective at that. And I think it's a very unobtrusive way to begin to help the parents share some of their own information and their family background that can help us all in that whole therapeutic process. So I love incorporating that kind of play with the parents.
So definitely very useful. Okay, fifth question. Are there any parent responses or reactions that have especially stayed with you?
Well, of course, there's always the parents that are a little like, oh no, what do play? So but once they get a little warmed up to it, they seem to be fine. But I have had parents, I wrote down some quotes to get ready for today. Like one parent looked at me and go, after we talked about what she created in the tray, and she looked up at me and she goes, "This is how play works." And I said, exactly, right? Another mom looked at, after she had talked about some of her family dynamics in the Sandtray, and she said, I've never thought about my family that way. I always thought about it differently, which was really just a way of me denying what was going on in my family. And so again, just those kind of comments where and sometimes they just kind of look at it and look at me and they're almost speechless because of the power of what they've realized that they've learned about themselves and learned about their child. Yeah. So very, very effective and wonderful kinds of responses from parents.
It's so eye-opening for them and so heartwarming for us.
Yes, exactly. Right.
Okay, last question.
Okay.
Is there anything you like to share with play therapists in Japan?
Well, first of all, I would just like to applaud all of you for the work that you're doing. I know that being a play therapist, as I've encountered around the world when I've done trainings in so many different places, is that it's really hard. So many people do not understand play therapy, even our other colleagues, mental health colleagues. And so sometimes we feel very isolated. So first, I just want to say thank you to all the people that are working so hard for children and families. Second of all, I would like to encourage you, and I know we've had this conversation before, about taking ideas and trainings like I'll be giving, but then feeling free and in fact obligated to modify them to fit your country and your culture, so that usually the underlying constructs and objectives are similar, but there's always that kind of fine tuning that can be done to make it really, really applicable. And I'm sure even in different parts of Japan would have different parts of different cultures and different applications. So giving you the permission to really do that, I think, is a message I would give.
Thanks a ton, Linda. That was fantastic. I really enjoyed hearing your thoughts. 皆さん、ホーマイヤー先生の質問は以上です。先生の温かさやユーモア、プレセラピストとしての深さを感じていただけたら嬉しいです。シリーズではホーマイヤー先生からたっぷり学べる機会が待ってますので、ぜひご参加ください。皆様にお会いできるのを楽しみにしてます。Wave, Linda, bye!